Welcome to the BOSCHCAST with James Boschman and Denise Young, where we talk about Manitoba real estate and everything else that's on our minds. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the BOSCHCAST. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm Denise.
Yeah, and I'm James Boschman, and I'm glad to be back. I know Denise crushed last episode. That was a really great episode, actually, about the equity.
Yes,
I
had
in
a
Hawaii.
great guest.
Yeah, Lisa Kansky was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, she was awesome.
I had the pleasure of listening to that while I was on the beach in Kauai, so that was nice. But yeah, today we're going to talk about condos and kind of like the things to consider when you're purchasing a condo to determine if a condo is right for you. And this is an exciting topic because I actually really like condos. But before we get into all that, we should go through our businesses,
Our
local business shout-outs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I know we said we weren't going to touch on this, but right now, as of the time of this podcast, there is a bit of a shitstorm going on with the U.S., Canada, and the U.S. and Mexico with regards to the tariffs. So I don't want to get political or anything, but the only thing I want to say is now is the time to support your local Canadian companies and businesses. You know, I don't want to say boycott American companies, but what is being done right now with regards to Trump implementing tariffs on our country, I know it's been paused for 30 days, but it's actually uniting Canadians, and, you know, to the point where the liquor mart has decided to pull all of the American booze off the shelves. So I'm not sure if they're putting it back on the shelves today because...
Yeah, I heard that was being paused as well. I think Rob Canoe came on yesterday and said it was all going to be paused now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just had this picture in my mind of those poor employees taking everything off the shelves and then they're like, you know, and then putting everything
it all back on. Yeah. I know.
That way. But yeah, it's you know, there's a lot of panic and you know, it's a lot of rhetoric and stuff like that, and it's obviously the start of a negotiation between the countries. But I'm pleased to see how united Canadians can become when this happens, and you know, everybody's like, support local, support Canadian companies. You know, it's really kind of cool to see that. So
yeah,
so that kind of ties into our local business shout outs. And maybe you start and then I'll...
So I'm going to shout out two, actually. I know I only put down one, but as you're talking, I'm like, yeah, no, I have to talk about this other one too. Okay. So I'm going to shout out Yale Eye Care Center. They are who I go see to get my eyes checked. And his assistant is amazing at helping you pick out new glasses, and it's time for me. These are not my new glasses. These are my old ones. But like, she's just like, try this. Oh, yeah. And like, she knows as soon as you put them on if you're going to like them or not. You know, she's just so good at her job. And that whole, just going in there, the whole experience is good. You know, despite the little puff of air in your eye and the drops and all that stuff, they just, you know, it's a positive experience. So it's really great. The other one I want to shout out is Rocky Mountain Soap, which Manitoba has a location in Polo Park. They make their products in BC. Well, sorry, not BC, Alberta, in Canmore, and most of their locations are in Alberta. But we do have a Manitoba location because he originated in, he was born in Manitoba, so he has a location here. And so there is a Manitoba tie-in. But I love that they're all natural products. And me, who has a very, very, very bad scent allergy, can still shop inside their store and use all our products. I haven't found a product that I haven't been able to use yet. So if you're looking for a Canadian alternative for soap, shampoo, conditioner, face cream, body lotion, all that stuff, there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, it's kind of like one is a service-based company, and then
Yeah.
the other one is like a product company. So that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I think I might do the same thing, although one of them is both product and service. But I was originally just gonna do one, but I just thought of another one as well. So the first one I want to shout out, I know that I've shouted this business out before in the past, and I will shout it from the rooftops. And it's Iron Image Barbell Club or Iron Image Gym in Selkirk.
Yeah.
Their location is at 511 Robinson Avenue. It's in an old warehouse building, and it's just been like so amazing to see where these guys have come and where they are now.
Yeah.
It's like they call themselves the strongest and best gym in Selkirk, but I would say they're the best gym in Canada, and that's a very bold statement. But you know, I have a Good Life membership, also Canadian company, but I just every once in a while, you know, I'll buy like an 8-day pass, and that's the one great thing about Iron Image. They don't lock you into any contract. So most gyms, they'll say, you know, you have to do a 1-year contract, 1-year commitment, or
Yeah.
whatever. And if you want to break it, they make it extremely difficult for you to break that contract.
Right.
Um, Iron Image, it's like, hey, you want to come, you know, come. If you decide that you can't come, you know, you can cancel your contract. There's no penalties. Um, they also offer for people who, like for me, I live in East St. Paul, and so I'm kind of in the middle of uh, where Good Life is on either McPhillips or Regent,
Right.
and Selkirk. So I'm kind of
Right.
like it's the same distance either way.
Yeah.
And so what I found out is that I could get an 8-day pass, and you can use it. You don't have to use it consecutively. It's just kind of like once you've finished your 8th day, then it kind of you kind of have to buy another 8-day pass. But like you can use it whenever you want sporadically. So for me, it's great because if I have an appointment and I know it's going to be on the north side or like, you know, Tyndall, Garson, kind of that north area, Selkirk, then I'll go to the gym there. And it's
Yeah.
just easier for me to kind of coordinate. If somewhere else, you know, I'll go to Good Life or whatever. But if I had the choice, I would go to Iron Image every single day. Um, they bought out the other half of the building, and so now they offer like classes. They have personal trainers in there that will put on yoga classes. They have
Oh, wow.
boxing classes. They have mixed martial arts training classes. They have group fitness classes. They have yoga. They have all with like instructors that have partnered with Iron Image. They also have rooms where they host like they'll have different guests that will come in, like guest instructors to do different classes. And then they have their cardio section, which is like super advanced. And then they have their gym. And over the years, they actually listen to what their members want. So if they have somebody that's like, hey man, you should get a, you know, whatever rowing machine or something like that. Like they actually listen and they will source that piece of equipment. And it was pretty funny. Right around Christmas time, they brought in all of this new equipment that they acquired, and one of the owners put on a Santa costume, and while the members were working out in the middle of the day, he
Yeah.
showed up there, and a couple of the other employees were dressed up as elves, and he was doing like Instagram videos showing off their new equipment. So Matt, one of the owners, went around and he put bows on all the equipment, and then, as people are working out, here comes Santa Claus, and he's like, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas, here's your new equipment. And they're just like super fun. It's such a good environment there. It's super clean. They have like multiple bathrooms, change rooms. It's just like, yeah, it's like a place where I could spend all day,
Yeah.
but
You feel good there.
feel good there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they sell merch. So they have like Iron Image merchandise. You can buy supplements there. It's a full service thing. So Iron Image Barbell, cannot say enough good things about them. From like a product side, I've been looking for an iPad for a while, but I've been hesitant to buy a brand new one. And so I was kind of looking around. I found this company. They're on Portage Avenue, and they sell refurbished or newly used computers, including Apple products. And they're called Uniway Computers. And they also fix and repair phones, like any type of cell phone, any type of tablet and computer.
Right.
And the reason why I chose to go with them is I was kind of on the fence. Like, I know that I want a good tablet, but I wasn't sure if I wanted a Mac or if I wanted something Android. And so I figured maybe I'll buy like a 1-year-old iPad to try it out. And if I like it, then, that'll be the deciding factor for me for an Apple product. And at least I won't be out of pocket, like thousands of dollars for a new iPad.
Yeah.
The other reason why I like them is, even though they're newly used and refurbished, I can write it off because they give you an invoice.
Oh, yeah.
And they include a 6-month warranty, bumper to bumper, for no additional cost.
Nice.
So if it breaks down or something happens with it, you can bring it back. They'll fix it for free. And then they give you all the accessories, like, with it too. So I bought an iPad there recently. Their service was really great. And I'm considering taking my MacBook to them now to get it cleaned up, because it's like, a bit of an older unit, and I'm having a hard time finding the space for the update. I need to update my iOS.
Yeah.
So I'm going through and I'm deleting everything, but I'm having a hard time with it. So I talked to them about it. He said, yeah, man, just drop it off. Like, I'll clean it up for you. And they're super reasonable in their pricing. So Uniway Computers, I guess it's called.
Awesome.
So those are my two local businesses.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we should get into the topic.
Sure.
Is a condo right for you?
It's a condo. Yeah.
We work with a lot of buyers and sellers on the residential single family home side, the new home side, but we also work with condo buyers and sellers. And this is going to be kind of like, talking to people who are potentially thinking about buying a condo. There are many considerations to take, to make when you're thinking about buying a condo. It can be a really great thing, and there are some cons with it as well. So we can kind of talk about that as we go through the considerations.
So maybe we should start with what is condo life, right? Like, what is a condominium? So a condo can be many things, but it's basically joint ownership of, a corporation. So for most people, think of apartment style condos, but there's also townhouses, detached houses, Bearland condo. So there's so many different types of condo. So we don't have to just like, if we're looking for a condo, we don't have to just consider apartment style. You know, lots of people are like, oh, I couldn't live in the same building. I you know, I don't want to share a wall. But you don't have to, but you
Mhm.
can still do condo living, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's biggest thing to consider when you're thinking about purchasing a condo is what kind of lifestyle do you want to have?
Right.
And um, I always say that it's a convenience thing more than anything else. If you work a very demanding job, you don't have really time to like maintain a home, like a house, cut the grass, shovel the snow, deal with all that, fix the do the repairs, then maybe a condo is right for you, you know. But in a detached condo, you still have to do all of those things. It may be that if you're in like a condo community, um, maybe a portion of your condo fee goes towards the grass cutting and the snow removal or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But you're still on the hook for the maintenance of your house.
Your house. Yeah.
Um, but it's still a lifestyle. So if you're someone who travels a lot, you're kind of like an urban person. Um, you know, you work a lot. Um, you like to be kind of like downtown, or close to where all the action is,
Close to
amenities,
amenities. Yeah.
stuff like that.
Want it very
Condo,
walkable or easy to transit.
yeah, then a condo could be a great thing for you.
Yeah.
Um, condos are kind of designed around amenities, so so that it's easy and convenient. But with that being said, there are condo buildings that are located in some of the small rural communities as well.
Yeah.
Um, but it's generally centered around like convenience and amenities and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, if you're somebody who hates driving downtown, you hate being stuck in traffic, um, having the ease and accessibility of like public transit or like walking or biking to work, being more central, a condo could be a great option. And, you know, like you said, walkability,
Yeah.
um, having the ability to be in an area like Old St. Boniface as an example, and not have to deal with like the joys and the horrors of like owning a character home there or something like that.
Right.
And but still having access to all the character from the community,
Right.
and the walkability and everything, like, and having something that's a little bit more modern, you know um and not everybody needs like a house, you know so having something on one level, um something where you can park your car maybe underground or in a parking lot, you can plug it in, that it's going to be shoveled, that it's going to be grass is going to be cut, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
um stuff like that. Sometimes people want the security of knowing like I'm in a safe and secure building that is going to be locked.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about people sneaking into my garage or my backyard or whatever.
Yeah. And people
um,
that live alone like to know that they have neighbors so close, right? On the other side of that wall.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that can be a consideration too. Most apartment style condos, multi type condos, have some sort of like security, that's included. Whether that's like a security system for the front entrance or cameras or
Yeah.
something that's monitored.
Yeah. And
Um,
some might even have something more substantial, like an actual concierge, doorman
mhm.
to help you in and out and park your car for you and bring up your groceries. And so it just
Yeah,
depends on how much money you have.
yeah. All of these conveniences come at a cost.
For
So,
sure.
uh, you know, one of the things that I hear about, because the bare land condominium thing is starting to become popular in some of the more rural areas, where you have like a bungalow style house. So it's a smaller lot, smaller house. It's more manageable for maintenance and stuff like that. And it's geared towards those people who maybe they're downsizing on the house or downsizing on the property. They can't maintain their acreage anymore, but they also don't want to be in an apartment where they're
Yeah.
sharing walls. They want to
Yeah.
have their
They
own
feel too
space. They
cooped
want to have
up.
their own little deck or yard or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so those are really great option. But the common thing that I hear from people who maybe don't understand what they are is, well, what am I paying for? And if the answer is just, you're getting your snow shoveled and your lawn cut, then sometimes the pushback is, well, why don't I just buy a smaller home then, and then
Hires.
hire a lawn
Yeah.
care company or a snow care company?
Yeah.
And it's a great argument, but it's in those types of bare land condo bungalow style communities, it's more, you get the added value of that security. The feeling of you're part of a community,
Yeah.
and because it's a condo, everybody is contributing to the well-being of that community, and ensuring that kind of things are being maintained, and
Yeah. And
that
it creates a
everybody.
culture of looking out for each other.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that can be beneficial too. It's like a best of both worlds situation,
Right.
for people who want like the convenience, but they also want the security without having like shared walls.
Yeah.
So um, with condos, there are, as many conveniences and amenities that there are also rules, bylaws
Yeah.
that are established by the condo board. And typically the condo board will consist of unit owners that contribute and have a say. And
Right.
some people, they want to be on the board, and some people don't want to have anything to do with it.
Right.
So
Yeah. It's nice to have your say though, because if you can influence the board to have rules and regulations that are more fitting to your lifestyle, or if you want to keep the fees down and don't want to build a gym in the main floor that a
yeah,
bunch of other people do, like then you're having a say, right? And
yeah.
yeah,
So
restrictions
they
on
should,
pets is a big one, and so is uh, um, renting them out. Like some condos apply a levy to rent it out, right? Or
yeah,
might have a rule against Airbnb-ing it, or right?
yeah.
And yeah.
The rules are good because they set an expectation, but they
Mhm.
also provide protection for the value of not only the building, but the individual units. So it's kind of like an all for one mentality.
Right.
And it is important to have rules. I've definitely seen some condo buildings that have gone in disrepair because their rules have been too relaxed or they haven't been enforced properly.
Mhm.
And, things can get out of hand. Like, as I'll just use an example, when Tara and I went on our vacation, we stayed in a Airbnb condo,
Yeah.
and we were there. It was a lovely building. It's probably built in the 60s or the 70s,
Oh, wow.
and wood construction, so you can hear everything that's going on. The
Yeah.
walls in Hawaii are paper thin because it doesn't get that cold there, so you don't need
So
insulation.
there's no insulation yet.
Um, yeah, but what we noticed is every day there were like vehicles coming and going, people, with their luggage. And so we actually went to an open house out there. It was another condo, different condo building.
Yeah.
Talked to the realtor there, and he was saying, yeah, everything over here, because this is like the resort area, they've purposely they created the rules so that you can Airbnb.
Right.
And because he said 90% of the owners here they don't live here. He said there's only 10% of people in this whole area that actually live here year round and consider this their home.
Okay.
So he called it a condotel.
Oh yeah.
And and he said that it's great, as an investment. The problem is that because the rules are so relaxed around it,
Yeah.
the banks have kind of made it more difficult for people to purchase them. They
Oh, okay.
they want like, what did he say, 30 or 40% down?
Wow.
They won't even look at it if you don't have that. So he said most of the people, they buy cash.
Wow.
And it's just because of the nature that the lack of rules has kind of had a bit of a detrimental impact on the value,
Oh, okay.
because it's basically just created an investor type market there,
Right.
and it's deterred actual like long-term owners that want to live there.
Right.
So we were kind of chatting a little bit, and he was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't suggest that you buy something here and live here year round, because it's going to be a revolving door every day of different,
Of different people moving in
travelers
and out.
coming."
Yeah.
So there is pros and cons to that too. Like,
Yeah.
if you are a diligent owner or an investor of a property, and your business model is to own that property and keep it as an Airbnb, it's a condo, the argument can be made that, well, it's actually taken care of better, because even though there are people coming and going in the property is getting cleaned in between
Yeah.
people.
And
It's
should be
being
maintenance in between people.
Yeah, it's being maintenance. So it's being looked after more. Like, there's more maintenance happening.
Right.
Um, so but it's just the busyness, I guess, of people just like,
Yeah.
around all the time. It's never like the same neighbor that you're waving at. It's always a different couple or
There's
family.
no feeling of community. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
One
Pros
thing
and
that
cons.
I noticed from my mom's building, when they have like, because they had a lot of tenants in her building when she first moved in, compared to now, it's a lot more owners living in the building. And she said like the hallways and um, the electric doors, like tenants tend to hold them open, and then they stop working, and you have to get maintenance out
Yeah,
more often and stuff like that, right? Whereas,
right.
when you tell the homeowners that you're all paying $300 for every service call, they care and they stop
Yes,
holding that door open. They wipe
exactly.
their feet when they come in. They don't just trudge mud all the way down the hallway. And
Yes, very
so
true. Yeah,
yeah, so that it would also be a big difference between a building that has a
yeah,
high percentage of rentals versus
yeah,
owners, yeah, owner occupied
yeah.
units. Hmm.
Rules and bylaws can also change along the way. So if you
Yeah,
have, depending on the demographic of people that are living in a building, if it's turning over,
yeah,
um, you know, that's the one thing about a condo, is that you own a small percentage. Everybody owns a small percentage, and that percentage is based on the size of your unit, and you own a small percentage of the entire project.
yeah,
And so you have a percentage of a say in what goes on. So when, let's say people are complaining about something with the building or something with the rules in the building, you have a say enough to vote on that. And you can present that at an AGM or a board meeting, or to the board members, and they take your consideration, seriously, if they're diligent. And then a vote can be cast as to whether or not a rule gets changed, or something happens with the building, or gets renovated, or whatever. So that's the good thing. but you need to make sure that, I mean, I shouldn't say you need to make sure, because it's very difficult to make sure that the board is running properly. But
Right.
it's important to kind of get a sense of, does the board actually care? Do they take other unit owners' concerns into consideration? And some of
Right.
these details will talk about the process of buying and how you can do your due diligence when you're buying a condo. Some of these things may or may not be readily available. And so you kind of have to, do a little bit of digging on AGM meetings and things that are recorded, to try to figure out, like, how does this place actually run,
How?
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of our job, is to help guide buyers through that process.
Right.
Condo fees and assessments, those are other considerations that buyers should think about. The first one being condo fees. A lot of people, they'll look at a building, if I'm showing buyers a unit and they really
Yeah.
like the look of the unit or whatever, and then they'll ask, what are the condo fees? And then you say, well, they're about $400 a month. And they're like, oh man, that's expensive. But on paper, it sounds expensive, but you have to see what's included
What's included exactly?
for those. So $400 or $500 a month, does that include your hydro? Does it include your heat? Does it include your water? Does it include your, shaw or cable?
Even
Does
the
it include
gym
your
or
parking?
a pool, right? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, like those have a lot of value. Or party
Yeah.
room.
Yeah. So if you were to do a side-by-side comparison to, let's say, a small house, if you're trying to compare apples to apples,
Yeah.
like a low maintenance house, what is your hydro bill on the house? What is your water
Right.
bill on the house?
Yeah.
So those are all things that are sometimes they are included in the condo fee, but that's our job to kind of figure out, okay, what are they including here,
Yeah.
to make it make sense. A lot of people just look at, like, number. So they're like, okay, my mortgage payment on this is going to be X amount. And then I'm going to have a condo fee. It's like, okay,
Right.
well, your mortgage payment would be similar if you were buying a house, plus you'd have all these utilities that you would then have to be on the hook for. You'd have to have a hydro account. You'd have to have water billing account. You'd have to, this is like, if the utilities are truly included in that fee, you pay your fee, the condo corp,
And then those are
the property
paid.
management company takes care of it all, right?
Mhm.
So it's just like less paperwork, less things you have to worry about. Assessments. So now a portion of your condo fee and it's based on the percentage of ownership, like I said, the size of the unit, but a portion of your condo fee will go into what's called a reserve fund. And the reserve fund is there to reserve money in case there are unexpected or expected repairs.
Right. All the
to
capital
the
costs should be coming out of there.
Yeah. So if the roof has to be done, I mean, a vote will be taken, and then quotes will be requested from different companies, and then it's voted on which company is the board going to hire, and then how do they pay for it.
Right.
And so making sure that there is a significant reserve fund in place if you think that the building, if it's an older building and maybe it requires a roof, and these details can be found in the condo documents, which we'll kind of get into at the end with the process
Right.
of buying. But what happens if there is a repair or a number of large ticket items that need to be done, and there simply isn't enough money in the reserve fund?
Right.
So then the condo corporation can determine if they want to do what's called a cash call. So based on your percentage of ownership again, they can come around and say, okay, we need to do the roof. The condo board and the people in the building have voted on, in favor of not touching the reserve fund. or
Yeah.
there's simply not enough money in the reserve fund.
Right.
So we would instead just everybody pitch in and pay out of pocket.
Right.
So how much is that going to be? So those are things to consider as well.
Yeah.
They're called
And
special assessments.
yeah, and we see them often on places that haven't planned ahead, haven't kept on top of like their reserve fund studies, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I had a client in, I don't remember what year it was actually, but the special assessment came out for their balconies, and I think they were going to have to spend it was around 20 grand. And he was on disability at the time, so getting a loan was not possible for him at that moment. And so coming up with 20 grand, just like that, I think it was 6 months, but I mean, that's not a lot of time when you're sitting on disability and not making money.
Yeah.
And so what are his choices, right? So that's one of the cons to a condo is, you can't defer that, right? Like, if you were in a house, you could choose to not do it. It might become unsafe. And, like, especially something like a roof, it could leak, it could do more damage, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still your option, right? Whereas in
Yeah.
a condo, they're not going to let you get to that, right? So
Right.
then
Yeah.
your option is selling with a special assessment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the alternative is that if you push back and you say, I'm not paying for this or I'm not doing this,
Mm-hmm.
it's detrimental to everybody else.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
because it's like the all for one mentality where, they're not just going to fix every single balcony and then leave one.
Yeah.
They're going to do everything
Yeah.
because
They're going to still
it
do it.
affects the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so I mean, they're going to do it, and then you're going to have an outstanding payment, and
Mm-hmm.
that's accumulating interest. So things are just getting worse, not better.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's important to find, try to do as much digging into the building as possible.
Right.
One thing
Read
I've
that
done in the
reserve
past,
fund study.
one thing I've done in the past is if you can't find, let's say you're a buyer and you're considering purchasing a unit in a building and you're not really willing to write an offer until you find out certain information, we can reach out to the property management company. Sometimes they're easy to deal with, sometimes they're not. Well, what I've done in the past is I've actually found, if there are recent sales in the building, I'll reach out to the prior listing agent or the prior buyer's agent,
Right.
and I'll just chat with them. I'll be like, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. Like, I don't want to take up much of your time. Any help is much appreciated, but I've got a client that's looking to buy a unit in this building. I saw that you sold one recently. What was your experience with the building? Because obviously your client purchased it. That means they would have read through the condo documents. Was there anything glaringly obvious? Or now that your client has lived in that building for, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, is there anything that's been a shock or surprise that you've learned about from your client?
Right.
So it's just taking that little extra step and trying to figure out,
Yeah.
anecdotally, has it been a good purchase?
Right. That being said, the circumstance I was talking about also happened before all the new regulations. So it was like pre when you got 7 days
Yeah.
to go through all the documents and were required to hand over all those documents, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it could have been prevented. I don't know because times have changed.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so circumstantial too. Like it depends on the building. It depends on,
Yeah.
so many factors. That's the thing with condos is there's more factors you have to consider
Right. I
than just
think with the
simply buying a house.
Exactly. With the reserve fund study, I think it's harder to defer the maintenance that's required that causes buildings to get to the point where they have no choice but to do this repair now because it's dire now, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like it's with the reserve fund studies, I'm not seeing as many buildings like look like they like you look at it and you're like, oh, that I wouldn't want to live. That looks like it's
Yeah.
unsafe, right? Yeah,
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
that building did get like that. Those balconies were like starting to slope down, right? Like,
Yeah. I so prior to the introduction of the 7-day cooling off period, back when it
Yeah.
was only 48 hours,
Yeah. 2 days.
I had a condo listed on Grant.
Yeah.
It was kind of like across from Grant Park Mall,
Oh, yeah.
and like a super tall building, um, 2 elevators, and my unit was the unit I listed was like in the middle somewhere, I think, and it had on paper a very healthy reserve fund. It was
Yeah.
like $500,000 or something around there. So I got a call. I showed the property, but the buyer wrote the offer with me,
Yeah.
and I had all the condo documents kind of prepped and ready. The only thing I needed to order was the disclosure, which shows like the up to date, after the time the disclosure is filled out, up to date reserve fund amount, which was actually a little bit higher. And so the part of the package of the condo documents, which we'll kind of talk about, is um, a an assessment by an engineering firm as to the condition of the building.
Right.
And this was back before this was even a requirement.
Right.
And like it wasn't a required document back then, but we had it, and it reserve fund study.
Yeah.
And in that reserve fund study, which was done that year, I saw that both elevators needed to be repaired, and
Oh,
the pool, which was either on the roof or somewhere on the property, I think it was beside the property, but it was part of the pool was shot and it needed to be repaired.
oh,
And
wow.
so the reserve fund study indicated that X amount of dollars needed to be set aside for these repairs, and it was recommended that they be done immediately. The elevators, the parts needed to be ordered from Germany, and it was like 200 grand just for the elevators,
Wow.
and then the pool repair was 150 grand. And when it all was all said and done, it was determined that even though they had $500,000 in a reserve fund, they were actually operating at a deficit. So
Right.
that meant that when they finally made the decision to fix those items in the near future, they would likely have to cash call, and or else they pulled money out of the reserve fund, and in order to replenish that money, they have to increase the condo fees accordingly, so that
Right.
they can say whatever we've pulled out, we can replenish within the next 2 years or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So now it was myself working with the purchaser's mortgage broker that actually kind of went through these documents together with the purchaser. So I was grateful for, I was relatively new, and it was like really cool to kind of go through all that. But she ended up backing out of the deal
Oh, yeah.
because it was like, but that's what the
That's
cooling
what
off
that cooling off
period of the
period is
condo,
for. Yeah.
that's what it's for, so
Yeah.
that we can really do our
That
due
would have been
diligence.
quite the rush in 48 hours, though.
Oh yeah,
Right? Like,
yeah,
something like that's like, I mean, that stack of documents is hard to read in 7 days, never mind 48
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing, this is just an anecdotal thing that I will say, and it's good advice, is if you're showing a condo or if you're looking at a condo and it's in an apartment style building like that, spend extra time and check out the common areas in the
Absolutely.
building.
Yeah.
Check out the parking, check out the laundry, if there's like shared laundry, check out all the amenities in the building, spend time.
Yeah.
So like if you're booking a half an hour showing in the unit, that's great. It should only take you like 15 or 20 minutes, but spend the rest of the time in the building. And for one reason, and that's not just to like check out everything, it's to talk to unit owners that
Yeah.
are walking around. So like I sold this one on Cambridge, and it was like an older building,
Yeah, I showed
super
that one.
clean build. Yeah. But the
I never
great
went
thing
to
about that
chat with
building,
you.
yeah, it was the greatest thing ever because everybody in that building was older in age,
Yeah.
so they have nothing to do all day but hang out in the lobby or drink coffee with their friends or
Yeah.
whatever. And so there's always somebody around. So when I was there with buyers,
Yeah.
I would be like, hey guys, sorry to bother you. I'm James Boschman. I'm a realtor. I'm trying to sell the unit. This is the unit, blah, blah, blah. Are you guys owners in the building? Yeah, we are. We live on 7th floor, whatever. Great. How long have you lived here? If you don't mind me asking, what has your experience been with the building so far? Do you guys love it? Are there things you wish they would do different? And like, if they give rave reviews and they're like, oh yeah, they're so good, which was that building,
Yeah.
it's just like so good to talk to the other unit owners. So that is the one good thing about a condo is like people really look out for each other, and they'll tell you straight up, yeah, don't buy this building. The balconies are falling off,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
or like, yeah, the roof, just to give you a heads up, like you probably won't see this in your condo documents, but we all got a
We've
letter
been
2 weeks ago
chatting.
that says,
Yeah.
yeah, the roof has to be done in the next couple of years. So
Yeah.
it's good to have that insider information.
Absolutely.
That goes to the next point, living with other people. So back to the lifestyle side of things, a
Yeah.
consideration could be like, are you okay with, talking to, all your neighbors in the building?
Right. Going to the laundry room and having everybody else's stuff there.
Yeah, being a socialite. So
Yeah.
if you, I know a realtor, he is at Remax currently. He used to live in a building, a taller, older 60s building on the corner of Stradbrook and Osborne,
Oh, yeah.
like right, well, actually just down the street on Stradbrook, so kind of close to the Safeway.
Yeah.
And he, at the time, I know this because I did a couple deals and I had to go to his condo to like pick up keys or whatever. And I asked him, how do you like living in a condo like this? He's like, I love it. He's
Yeah.
like, the amount of people I talk to is in our business, we have to be social. It's how we help people. And he's like, I love it. I love talking to people. It's a great opportunity for me. He's like, I live basically in an open house all day long,
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, so that's cool. If you're like a social person, it's a great way to like, if you have a small business or something, it's a great way to advertise your small business within a
Right.
very, you know, small area.
Yeah.
You can send out mailers to everybody in your building or like knock and talk or whatever, so
Yeah.
that's really cool.
But
So
if
it's
you're more
definitely
introverted, there's also townhouse styles.
exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
you don't want to see your neighbors or, smell the cooking down the hallway or whatever. So
Right.
there's pros and cons that way with people, depending on what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah.
Um, we kind of get into another consideration, which is an important one. It's probably the most important one, which is the resale ability and the investment opportunity of a condo.
Right.
And this goes back to like, what the building is like. How desirable is the building? What is the turnover like in that building? But generally speaking, there's just, and it's fine, but there's just less of a demand in the market in general for a condo than there is for a house. You have a
Yes.
larger
Totally
pool,
true.
larger demographic of people that are looking for houses, families, people looking
Right.
to upsize, downsize than condos. Just generally, it's a different market. So when you're thinking about purchasing real estate, the benefit of buying real estate is that you get to capitalize on natural market appreciation, which can help to grow your equity, which is the difference between what your property is worth and what you have owing on it. And what I found, and what you've probably found too, just from experience, is that, if a house is purchased in 2016 and it's maintained, that's the key, maintained,
Right. Yeah.
upgraded, lived in, loved, all that kind of stuff. If it's in a decent area, chances are by 2025, it will have increased in value at a much higher percentage than a condo would have for the same period of time.
Right.
And it just goes to the saleability of that and the demand for that type of property. So, so that's one thing to consider. So while you may not have the same natural market appreciation, you are having other benefits. So like convenience, and how much is that worth to you?
Right.
That's what I always say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So the equity that you're typically gaining in a condo is from paying down your mortgage. So and you might not get a ton of appreciation, but you're going to get back some of what you've put into it.
yeah, but also your capital expense, like condo fees, like I mentioned, like can include a lot of utilities. Those are things that paying utilities and stuff like that aren't things that you're
never
going to
get
get
that back. Yeah.
even in a house, right? So, but there's also less opportunity in a condo for what's called forced appreciation. In a house, you can make something open concept. You can, renovate till the cows come home. You can do whatever you want, interior, exterior, build a garage, don't build a garage. Like there's so many more options that you can do on your property.
Right.
With a condo, you're a little bit limited. Like you might be able to change a kitchen or you might be able to update a bathroom, but it's not like you're redoing the siding on the building or
no, you have control
building
on
a
the
garage
inside.
Yeah.
As long as you get permission and do it professionally. And yeah.
A little bit less opportunity for forced appreciation. With that being said, though, I have seen opportunities in the market for people flipping condos.
Yeah.
Like you buy a condo, it's a bank repo or something like that. It's really rough shape. It's been beat up. You go in, you put a new kitchen in, new flooring, new bathroom. And it's like very minimal cost because those are the only areas that you're concerning the renovation, and you could sell it for more.
Right.
But it's a little bit more rare. So
I'd also like to kind of warn that in Manitoba, like we typically don't see a lot of fluctuation in the market in housing. And when we do see like markets change in other regions, our condo market can fluctuate more, right? So when we do have decreases in the market, that might say affect our million plus homes, but typically doesn't affect our average price homes, that it still will affect our condo market in most cases. Yeah.
Condo market has, yes, because
there's more
people are selling condos, so it creates it creates more of an oversaturation in inventory than the demand. And there's already a deviation between the demand for a condo and a house.
Right.
So if you compound that with a volatile market, it could mean that, there's just a lot of supply for condos, and now you're trying to compete, with 4 other units in your building, which is challenging in itself. There's a bit of a psychology that comes along with the purchasing as well with condos. From my experience working with buyers, you can look at a building that's quite a large building with like a lot of units in it. Maybe there's like 3 buildings and there's like it could even be a newer building. There is a building in Sage Creek, South St. Vital off of St. Anne's Road, where there's like by the perimeter there, and there's I think there's 3 buildings or 4 buildings, beautiful condos, like balconies, underground parking in some cases. Yeah, but like the issue with that is there's a lot of turnover because of the amount of units, right? So at any one time in a balanced market, there could be like between 6 to 8 units available, all at a similar price, similar features and benefits. And so now you're trying to convince somebody that your unit is the best unit. So it could be like kind of a race to the bottom in terms of price. And all it takes is one person to do a significant price reduction because they're motivated to negatively impact everybody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then from a buyer's perspective, a buyer could look at that and be like, well, why are there so many units for sale in the building? It's just because of the law of averages. There's more units in the building in general. So there's more people. So it's like the same reason why there's, 8 listings at the same time in Transcona. You know,
Right.
it's just more spread out. So
Right.
you're just seeing it more condensed here.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
but there's a bit of a psychology when it comes to that. And, you know, but condos are fun. I think I always tell people, like, I was asked, why do you want a condo? Like, well, you know, this or this. And I say, if it's lifestyle and that is like, you know, very important to you, sometimes there's like a value that you just cannot put on lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like an intangible thing, right?
Yeah.
And
lifestyle and community are the two things that most of my condo buyers are looking for.
yeah. Then it makes sense. Absolutely. Do it. That's perfect. You know, if I was a single dude, then, you know, I would be in a condo. The reason why is because I have an extremely busy job. And, you know, if I can, you know, maybe not get on my lawnmower, you know, every week, and, you know, I enjoy that too, but like, what could I do with that time? Oh, maybe I could compound that time into taking a trip or something. So those are things to consider. So that goes towards the long back, kind of circling back, lifestyle, long-term goals. You know, I know it's difficult, especially in our day and age where everybody's like ADD. You know, I want to watch a video and I want all the information in like less than 30 seconds. It's difficult nowadays, especially for young people, to think long term.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is important to try to picture where you will be. Yeah. If you're buying a 2-bedroom condo, then, you know, or a 1-bedroom condo, like how long do you want to live there? You know, try your best to kind of figure out and determine like what that looks like for you. And but it can be budget constraints too, you know, like
yes,
you can buy a beautiful 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo in Winnipeg for well under $300,000 for the same property in a house with parking, you know, that has the same level of amenities and updates. You're going to be spending maybe $400,000. So it could be budgetary constraints there too. So nonetheless, getting into home ownership, whether it's a house or a condo, is always going to be better, like you said earlier, than renting.
Absolutely. You're going to get more back.
Yeah. Principal pay down, natural market appreciation, and then being able to utilize, exactly. And then being able to utilize your asset as leverage for other things. So it's like it's a foundation for building wealth, you know. And if you're buying in a good building, then chances are you're not going to lose. So you're not going to lose on your lifestyle because your lifestyle is going to be great. You're not going to lose on your investment if it's all about investment. So Now I think that covers all of the considerations.
Yeah.
Those are generally all the things that we kind of talk to our clients about. But maybe we'll just briefly, because I know we could do a whole other podcast.
We could do another podcast on the how to.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different than buying a resale house. When you're buying a condo, you have a little bit more protection in the sense, because like we said before, you're purchasing a small percentage of an entire corporation in an entire project. So you want to make sure that the entire project is healthy. And the way we do that is you as a purchaser, you are entitled to what's called the Buyer Protection Act with condos. And when your offer is accepted, it is the seller or the listing agent's responsibility to gather all of the condo documents that are associated with that unit and with that building. So these are things like the disclosure statement by the condo corporation, the disclosure statement by the seller, the property management agreement. Let's figure out, you know, what's the property management company like? Are they easy to deal with? Are they difficult? Blah, blah, blah. What are the terms of that?
Yeah.
the bylaws and the rules, like we mentioned before, the reserve fund study. Let's see, an engineering firm or a consulting firm would have looked at the building. They would have looked at the bones to determine like what's coming down the pipe in terms of big ticket repairs.
Right.
Kind of paints a little bit of a future picture as to where the condo fees can go, if there's any special assessments coming up, things like that. So those are all documents. So what happens is all the realtors, sellers have a checklist. It's a mandatory checklist of documents that are required as part of the Condo Buyer Protection Act. And so it's their responsibility to get all of these documents from the property management company and then compare them with the table of contents. They check them off. Yeah, we have this, we have this. Some documents may or may not be required depending on the situation.
Right.
And then once all the documents have been compiled and they're up to date, then if we're representing the purchaser, then we get those documents for our purchaser. Once we hand them off and they start looking at them, there is a 7-day cooling off period. And I believe it includes weekends, right?
Yeah. Includes everything except for Remembrance Day. And the only time it doesn't include Remembrance Day is if it lands on Remembrance Day.
Yeah. So there's a piece of paper that comes with the documents, with the checklist. It's called the commencement of the cooling off period form. And as soon as you get the documents and you've acknowledged that you've received all of them, you sign that form. And from the date of that form until 11:59 p.m. on the 7th day, you then have to review those documents and be satisfied with them. Now, it's not like a condition where you can waive it, or you can.
So even if you're in multiple offers, you can't waive it.
Can't waive it.
Yeah.
So it's mandatory for everything, and for everyone, and you basically have that amount of time to review those documents. If you see something in there that sketches you out, then we can question whoever we need to question, get the answers.
Yeah.
But alternatively, if you see something in there that's like, nope, I am not interested in this anymore, this is scary, blah, 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 you want to back out of the deal, you have every right to do so, regardless if you've satisfied your financing condition or a home inspection condition. As long as it's within that 7-day cooling off period, you can do a deposit release form, cancel the transaction, and get your deposit back.
Exactly.
That's what it's designed for. So now, alternatively, if you review everything and you're like, yeah, everything looks tickety-boo, like it's great, I'm so excited, then you let it expire.
Right.
So the time will elapse, and by 12 a.m. on the 8th day, it will be considered
sold.
Done. Yeah, sold. So by not saying anything, it's just, saying that by not saying anything, it's saying everything, that you love it and that you want to proceed. So, so it's very simple. And
you could have a lawyer review those documents if you're too overwhelmed to read them yourself. The downside to having a lawyer is they might not focus on the things that are most important to you. Like they'll have a conversation with you ahead of time, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So you don't know what to tell them is important to you unless you've read the documents. And, so yes, things like that are commonly important are things like pet rules and smoking rules and stuff like that, right? So the lawyer is going to ask, what's important to you. And if you say pet rules are important to you, that's what they're going to focus on. They're going to still read everything and they'll be like, hey, we read, this, and this is a concern, the way this is worded, or, or, can we get more clarification from the management company on this clause or whatever. So it can be advantageous, but you're spending most of them I've seen are $1,000 to $1,200, and something that's important to you can still be missed if you didn't
Yeah.
know to have them focus on it. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a mix of trust
Yeah.
and due diligence.
Right.
The trust can come from talking to other people in the building if you have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
And then the due diligence is, working with us who know, we deal with this a lot, so we know what to look for. And or you can hire a lawyer, but you'll be paying a lot. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Hey, for buying process,
I think that was pretty
like the
thorough.
process of actually like putting pen to paper and like buying it, and then
Yeah.
what the cooling off period looks like. Anyways,
Right. Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it, eh?
I think so.
Yeah. Hopefully we help lots of people buy and sell condos in 2025. And
Yes. Especially in the villas.
yeah. If anybody's looking for a bungalow condo, brand new builds, they want to build it and customize them and make them their own. We have these Bearland condo bungalows in the villas of Grand Point Meadows in Grand Point, Manitoba. A lovely little community, only 8 minutes south of Sage Creek. And yeah, they're great. And then also got some resale stuff coming down the pipe too. If people are looking more for apartment style. But yeah, I always like doing condos. I know it's more work, more paperwork and stuff, but yeah, it's like clean, it's easy, and not easy, but it's clean and it's fun. And
it's just paperwork. It's not that much
it's just
extra work.
time. Yeah.
It's a little extra time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good.
It's not much harder than rural properties.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not much more paperwork than rural properties. Rural properties are I'll say take more time in a different way.
Yeah. Instead of having you can always get a home inspection on a condo.
Yep.
I mean, they're going to look at, the stuff inside the unit. They might look at some stuff outside the unit too, just from a visual perspective.
Yeah, they'll visually look at the building.
Yeah, but the important structural components and stuff and things that need to be fixed are usually disclosed in the documentation.
Yeah.
And then, hiring that lawyer to review those docs or, doing a thorough review of the docs can be kind of like you're doing a home inspection, but on the entire project.
Right.
So trying to do a deep dive, but
yeah.
So I think that covers it. I hope that everybody, enjoyed this episode, and feel free to share it, subscribe, like it. It's exciting being on Spotify now, so it's a little bit more accessible for people. You don't have to, my mom always said, you have a face for radio, and I was like, thanks, Mom.
What?
That's really mean. but you don't have to look at my mug. You can listen.
It's
to
easier
us
to
now
listen to in the car now because I found YouTube would shut off if my phone shut off.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to listen to in the car.
Yeah. So yeah, but yeah, I think that covers it, eh?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Hope everybody has a great week. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, stay out of the wind. It's freaking cold out there.
Yeah, stay classy.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.